no representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele. I'm an attorney in Daphne, Alabama, and we're just going to kind of sound off. Mr. Linder, you might want to just kind of say ditto. You're a practicing attorney or hold a licensure and and practice from time to time when you're not doing civil engineering up in Birmingham.
I am a recovering attorney who's still licensed and returned to civil engineering practice in Birmingham, Alabama.
Whitney, why don't you please introduce yourself, because I'm sure I'm going to butcher your last name.
Yes, I was trying to adjust my microphone volume. I'm Whitney Skopecki. I write for Southern Freedom Press. I'm just an independent journalist and a seeker of truth. That's it.
Tonight, an attorney with a history of erratic behavior in Baldwin County is behind bars after he allegedly attacked a Bay Minette City councilman earlier today.
As WKRG News 5's Debbie Williams tells us, Harry Steele III has a reputation for the bizarre, but nothing like this.
It happened in the shadow of the courthouse right outside Matt Franklin's business office after a routine meeting suddenly turned in what is being described as a blindside attack. Attorney Harry Steele III had gone to the Delta Realty office to talk about a case. On his way out, he launched into a rant about city government, the new administration, and how department heads would be fired.
Councilman Franklin just had enough and told him to show them the door. And then when they got halfway out the door, Councilman Franklin turned his back and Steele grabbed him and threw him on the sidewalk.
And started kicking him, according to witnesses.
Councilman Franklin said he said like a 12-year-old boy said, "Say uncle" or something.
Steele has a history of erratic behavior, has been banned from courthouses only to be reinstated.
He's all about political attacks, and he's done it historically to the city, to the county, to the sheriff, to the DA, you name it.
Matt Franklin was treated and released from a local hospital with scrapes, bruises, and abrasions. Harry Steele was booked into the Baldwin County Jail on assault charges. On the Baldwin County beat, in Bay Minette, Debbie Williams, WKRG News 5.
So, tell us what happened. You had a video, you had audio on, is that correct?
I did.
First, before we get into this, let me say my deepest condolences to Harry and his family that his father just passed away, and he's forced with having to go to a funeral nobody wants to go to tomorrow, I'm sure. But our deepest condolences to the family. Anyway, once you lead us up, Harry, as to exactly why you were going there and why you decided to turn on the tape recorder before you went in.
Well, you've been to public meetings with me before, or to meetings with public officials, and not knowing that anything like this was going to happen, it just was precautionary.
What do you think perpetuated it? I mean, are you going to play the tape for us and let us hear that?
I'm going to let you hear the appropriate, the pertinent part, and apparently the audio's been leaked to the lanyard, so it's going to be out there, and I might as well, take shots from my lawyer friend, my my co-podcaster, who's a real life journalist, and of course you know me for a long time, and then Whitney is kind of a podcaster, citizen journalist who's new to the scene, and I could go back and you can watch Backstory Podcast number 134. And the law enforcement narrative, and it's exactly what's happening to me right now. It's what they did to Forrest Bullen. It's what they did to Steve Nodine. It's what they did to, how they got ahead of the story about the shooting of Otis French Jr. in Bay Minette. So, yeah, there are a lot of people who don't like what I've said or what Mr. Rip has said or things that we've talked about, but I've yet to be sued on any of these things. I haven't slandered anybody, and had to abide by the rules of professional responsibility. So I guess without further ado, let's listen to the pertinent part of the tape, and then you guys can ask away.
Yeah, how you want, brother? How you want? I don't know, but it's not gonna be a bunch of lollipop, dick suckers. Yeah, that's the thing. Get out of this. I'll be glad to. Thanks, man. Big fat fucking pussy. Get the fuck out of my office. Ow, hey, right now. Get the fuck out of here. Hey, watch this. What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck off. I don't know why you touched me. I didn't touch you, motherfucker. You sitting there all laughing. Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Say uncle. Say uncle, man. Better let go of my fucking kills. Like that's enough, man. Get the fuck off me. Get the that's fucking enough. I'm gonna kill that fucking dog, hey. I'm gonna kill you. Look, really? You're gonna kill me? Is that what you said?
Oh, wow.
Here he is.
I'm not so broken up.
I don't care to speak with you. I'd like to speak with the deputy sheriff. Somebody that doesn't work for. We're gonna have one. Somebody in row. You're standing right there. Well, I'm not. I'm gonna stand in the shade with my dog because I'm not being detained and I'm not suspected of anything. Oh, here it comes. 7D. Thank you. Hey, you're get a canine out here to see my dog. See that guy right there? I'm not. I'm coming to my dog. Please, put your hands behind your back. Come on, we ain't playing. I ain't playing this game. Just figure out why I'm being detained. Take care of my dog, please. There we go. There you go. Just stop, please. Give us a second. Figure out what's going on. Okay. Well, I don't understand why I'm a handcuff. Agitated, and you're walking up on the officers here. No, I'm not. I was full on witness.
And that is the end of the audio.
Well, Mr. Linder,
That trying to absorb what I just heard. That did not sound like the chain of events that were described on that news article that you played at the start of this. I didn't know Mr. Franklin was a dog lover. That's wow. It sounded to me it sounded to me like this whole thing is backwards.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it was Franklin who went off and acted crazy in the office and went nuts.
It sure
And just
did.
get the F out of my office? I mean, who talks like that if you're on the city council?
That's fair
Well,
point.
speaking about how you would speak on the city council, it is him yelling that he was going to kill Harry. Now, that alone should discount him from the council right there, just that. No court, no nothing else.
That's true. But I believe that's also called an overt threat. And we have laws about things like that.
And so, I guess the important thing I need to say is as soon as this was over with, I went to the front door of the county courthouse where I knew I would be on camera, and I knew there were deputies who knew me. How do they know me, Paul?
I'm being up there.
Right. So anyway, when I walked up, the first deputy says, "Did you get hit by a car?" And I kind of laughed, because my sleeve is ripped off and I'm bleeding from the mouth. Anyway,
The thing I don't understand is he told the officers that he had a recording.
Right.
They didn't listen to the recording.
no,
They
I
like this.
waive my right to remain silent. I don't want to remain silent. I want to make a statement, but
And-
not to Al Talbert's men or anybody that works for Bob Wills. Because why, Paul? Because I ran for mayor 4 years ago on the platform of what?
Well, to me, what I think it is that you have represented people like Forrest Bolin, Peyton Little, been involved in the McSherry case, investigation
Two
of
of
Danny
them.
Williams, the Ryan Peters probate case, which would make anybody throw up, whole bunch of distinguished attorneys that no one wanted to prosecute because they were distinguished attorneys. And then, of course, we've got the Murray Lawrence case, which is creeping up on them day by day. The wrongful conviction of Murray Lawrence, which involves the sheriff, Mack, Lowry, and even Robert Welters. So, and as well as personally, Harry had a falling out with Bob Wills years before this over an agreement of employment. So for Bob Wills to get up there and make that type of statement, he had a lot of brass to do that, especially seeing he had just got kicked out of office. So, I'm just like you. It seems like the whole thing's totally reversed. And when I heard the tape, I just said, what the hell's going on here? How did it get to this point? But in my opinion, with the work that we've done with the podcast, with Rip Report, and this goes back years now. This is not just recent. This has been mounting up, but we're facing a real big sheriff's race here, and nothing would suit them better than to have Harry out of the way and his mouth shut. So I wouldn't believe a damn word the sheriff's department says.
Well, I mean, it wasn't
Do
the
we-
sheriff's department doing interviews with the TV. That was Bob Wills, who seemed to have a very fanciful accounting of what happened.
When was that interview with the mayor? If does anyone know?
It was
pretty, go ahead, Whitney, go
not
ahead.
even days after. I mean, like it was pretty immediate, I think, correct?
Right, it was.
Well, Bud, do you want to tell everyone what involuntary incarceration is? A lot of people know that the Baker Act. Brandon probably knows a good bit about it. But the idea that you could be assaulted by a city council person, and there's $1,000 preset bond for assault, and instead I spent the night in solitary confinement with multiple MIGs and Hannibal Lecter screaming and beating the bars and all that stuff on them. So, and nobody ever served me with a writ. I should also say that. So anyway, Bo, just if you don't mind, thumbnail it for her.
It was $1,000 bond. Is that what you said? Because I think
Yeah,
that is. I think $1,000 is the isn't that the max they can charge? They can put on you in a municipal court. jail?
It is.
I assume that's why did you have to spend the night in jail?
Because one of the Bay Minette police officers filed a petition with the first with the probate court to have me involuntarily committed to a mental institution.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And so they kept me overnight in solitary confinement, and then they perp walked me like with chains on my leg and around my waist, and they took me into Judge Taylor's courtroom. Funny, Judge Taylor's the one that signed the writ to keep me overnight, right? So after a heated and spirited interview with the poor young lady from Alta Point who drew the short stick, the judge came out and said, yeah, I'm not going to do this. We're not going to have a hearing. And then an order comes out saying that he dismissed the charges based on information that he got from the mental health professional. Well, that never happened in my presence, nor in the courtroom. So there's all kinds of things about this that are suspect. So then they dropped the charges, refiled them. And recently, my attorney had a conflict. I was supposed to have this trial on Monday, and she had a conflict in federal court, and we couldn't go on Monday. And apparently, like I said, there's a lot of reasons to do this and get out in front of it, which is what I had planned to do initially.
Well, also to add insult to injury, those of you that might have kept up with the McSherry case in Fairhope, Marcus McDowell is the municipal attorney there. He's also the judge that Harry will be sitting in front of. And Mr. McDowell is the one that got in a huge conflict with Mayor Wilson, myself, representing the RIP report, and McSherry's victims. And McDowell swore to everybody in a council meeting on camera, we have it, that he was going to refile charges. Those charges weren't filed. And McSherry ultimately has gotten away with, I don't even know now, 4, 5, 6 women that he beat up, and nobody could seem to prosecute him. So now Harry's going to be faced with going back to court in front of McDowell as a judge, where I think the judge should recuse himself immediately from hearing the case. My opinion. And thank God I'm not a lawyer.
So I hate to open myself up to, sniping, but really, you guys have some questions.
You turn, Whitney.
They're like, wow, I have a lot, so get comfortable. I first want to say I found myself getting emotional. I mean, not only of course there's a dog. I'm a woman. I think I'm the only female on the call here. And obviously, Harry, like your life being threatened. But, for anyone that does follow me and what I do, these tactics, right? Getting ahead of the narrative. This is what they do. They control the narrative. They've infiltrated the news, the local news stations. I know this is a mother who's been advocating for children, to hear it be told I'm a far right extremist, which is far from the truth. It made me emotional because, and I have a source that I have a few things I'm bringing here today that come from sources, one of which does come from inside the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. This was a tip that came in first thing this morning to me. I have verified it. I will be sharing that here shortly, but I have one source who would probably like me to keep this under wraps for right now, but I think this is so important for me to say right here. There are 2 bills that have been proposed since the incident involving Harry and Matt Franklin. And, behind closed doors and private conversations that, some of these people, these politicians, different government officials that thought would never get out, they've made their way back to me. And Harry and I, I had shared with you, being transparent, that our names were both mentioned for one of these bills. There's a Senate bill and a House bill that has been proposed beyond it infringing our First Amendment rights, we were targeted individuals in a conversation about these bills behind closed doors. And I think that anyone who follows me knows I've not been sued thus far. Anything I've put out, it's the truth. And I would challenge anyone to say otherwise. They can't. And so I think it made me emotional because I've been in your shoes. My life has not been threatened yet, but someone coming out with a narrative and trying to spin the story in such a way, it's just beautiful that you were recording this, is all I have to say. I would like to get into the tip that I got into this morning, if that's okay.
Sure.
I think it just goes back to, I know I'm probably like the new kid on the block and all this. I haven't been around for decades in the corruption, but I know enough and I sit back and watch enough and speak on enough things to understand that you, Harry, are fighting against a machine. Okay. You are speaking out against the machine, and there is a lot of reward in shutting you up and locking you up. So anyways, so I wanted to bring something forward that came directly from inside the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. This morning, I received a verified internal BCSO email thread that was circulated department-wide. This is not a rumor. It was forwarded by a citizen. It was an internal operational communication that was sent to all enforcement deputies by the chain of command. And it included a direct response from Sheriff Anthony Lowry himself. The context is this. Deputies were being assigned an overtime security detail for a political event at Mama Lou's restaurant in Robertsdale. This is, for context, a Republican gathering where Secretary of State Wes Allen was scheduled to speak. The organizers expected around 100 people, and this was treated as a routine low-threat assignment. But in a response from Sheriff Lowry, he added a specific instruction that had nothing to do with general security. Sheriff Lowry told his deputies to pull up Harry Still's jail log photo. He wanted them to become familiar with what he looks like, and quoting directly from this, "Don't take any shit off of him." This is an extraordinary directive for a sheriff to send about a citizen attending an open political event. And I want to be clear for the record, Harry is not obviously an unknown private person. He is a well-known attorney, a former, you're a public commentator, and you have spent years reporting on some government actions in Baldwin County through your podcast. So you are someone directly engaged in protected speech and political transparency. I'm just echoing basically what you all said earlier. Here's where I'm going to let opinion come in a little bit here. When a sheriff circulates an internal watch notice about a political critic, complete with a mugshot and instruction to treat you as a potential disruptor, it crosses a line for me. This is not about safety. This was about, and it wasn't about standard protocol either. This was a political retaliation directive wrapped in a law enforcement channel. And I do want to say, I think the timing matters. This email did go out after the incident at the council meeting. And then it's the same incident that's still being used against you publicly, Harry. Inside law enforcement, when leadership frames someone as the problem, the deputies follow that tone. They're not necessarily reading the news articles and using their own discernment. They're reading these emails, and the sheriff's language shapes how your department perceives and treats people. But I do want to say one other thing. That was the meat of the tip that came in. This source also wanted to pass along to me. I'm going to pull up the direct message from this person. First of all, RIP, Baldwin County Sheriff's Office is still pretty pissed off about your latest report, I guess. And they have made that clear amongst the rest of the sheriff deputies. And there is more information to come. The deputies that are aware of what's being covered up and what's happening in cases like Harry's, that information is to come. And they wanted me to let you know, Harry, not all is one-sided with Baldwin County Sheriff's Office. A lot of them think that you have been a voice needed for change. And good luck with the podcast, which I obviously had teased to the public yesterday would come today.
Harry, I have a few questions I'd like to ask if I could.
Okay.
Mayor Wills, said, and then the media repeated over and over again, Harry Steele, a Baldwin County attorney who has a history of erratic behavior before this incident. Have you ever been arrested in Baldwin County or anywhere else prior to this incident?
No.
Is there
Prior
any,
to
I didn't
this
mean to interrupt,
incident-
Brandon, is there another, is there any documented cases, even if you were not arrested
Yeah.
or convicted? Are there any other publicly sourced incidents?
So there exists, and this is terrifying, Whitney. You need to look into this. There exists a database, okay? And it's called the Master Name Index. And you don't have to be a bad guy with the sheriff's department. Right. It's an internal database that they keep of people that they have, let's just say there's vandalism down at the Landon, and I go down to the Landon and Brandon Mosley's there working on his truck. And so I put that in the log that, hey, Brandon Mosley was down here, but he's not suspected of anything. He just happened to be there. So the next time something gets vandalized at the Landon, if Brandon's there, it starts to produce a pattern. And that seems to make a little sense, except Brandon's not suspected of anything. So yes, there's a incident in the Master Name Index. I got it myself in the public records request after my security pass was revoked by Sheriff Mack. And that again was on the word of Bob Wills, Al Tolbert, and Will's minion.
Is this master name index permissible in a court of law? I mean,
they used it in the Forrest Bullen case, which is why everybody wants to hang me over it, because I was like, what? Who in the world would let the fact that somebody is a known bad guy in the Master Name Index is a reason to go up to somebody's house without a warrant, without your lights on, and without identifying yourself? You get in a shootout with the homeowner. He ends up in prison for 60 years, and the deputy ends up owning his house. Again, Judge Taylor. The same judge who was the same
Name Index public record that I, as a journalist, can access.
Of course not. This is
So,
internal.
The media that reported a history of erratic behavior, there can be all kinds of stuff in the Master Name Index. No TV station or a blogger or newspaper or news website has access to anything in the Master Name Index, no matter how incriminating it may or may not be. So this whole narrative of history of erratic behavior, other than your podcasts, and that you've criticized, Mayor Wills and, Chief Tolbert, both publicly and, in your podcast, which is a First Amendment right and protected speech, there's no history of erratic behavior that is available to anybody. If this was the fifth time you'd been accused of assault, that's a different animal.
I guess
But
like
we don't
what
have
I
any
want to
of
ask
that.
is
Am
how
I
is
correct?
we're able to get their hands on, if this is obviously, if there's no recorded previous arrest, right? Like there's nothing. He's mentioning erratic behavior. You believe, obviously, because of, the position that you're in, hearing, I'm sure that you've obviously seen the Master Name Index or requested it, what have you. How would the mayor be using information from the Master Name Index in order to, publicly and justifiably say that you have a known history of erratic behavior?
Whitney, I really think that what happened was that the mayor, Wills, saw the opportunity and was just giddy over the opportunity of being able to say something because he had just got his ass beat up there, and completely blindsided over the mayor's race. And Harry,
He was
myself,
butthurt.
I mean, this has been going on forever.
Yeah.
This all really started when Harry started talking about the mega site. My God, must have been 5-10 years ago. And Harry's problem is he's a good old boy gone bad.
So
That's the
look,
way I look at it.
so if you can see this right here. So in 2003, I became the county administrator in Etowah County, having previously served in Conecuh County. So when I was in Conecuh County, the district attorney, Tommy Chapman, and the black chief of police, Chief Simpson, everybody called him Simp, had to come over to the courthouse and knock out my window with a rasp because Tracy Halsey and John Green, the sheriff and the chief deputy, were trying to kick my door down. Okay. Which is why Etowah County hired me, because they had the big britches sheriff. Remember that, Brandon? James Hayes. And who did I tangle with when I was the county administrator up there? But James Hayes. Go back and look through the records of
Did James Hayes ever have you arrested?
So, but what I'm trying to say is all of my run-ins with law enforcement is professional. It's because I was doing my job. And let me just finish this thought, Brandon.
As an attorney,
When I was accused of what have you, of acting erratically in 2019, you know, when Paul and the second podcast we ever put out is when I started acting erratically and had to be reported to the sheriff, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Is that about the right time?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, because I used to be a county manager, I know that there's a courthouse security committee because I used to be on two. So I appealed to the courthouse security committee, and guess what? Baldwin County didn't know they were supposed to be meeting. So Judge Taylor, being the presiding judge, had a meeting that I'd requested, and he didn't invite me. And in that moment, he slandered me in my opinion, and I don't know what your opinion is, Paul, when he upheld the sheriff's request to put me on whatever they called it. I was subject to search whenever I came into the courthouse, and I wasn't supposed to bring electronic devices in. And I think Stankowski or somebody, I know you don't like him, but somebody intervened on my behalf and said, hey, man, you can't tell the guy he can't bring his damn phone. And
you know, really, the accusation and pointing your finger and saying somebody is crazy is one thing I have noticed for over 20-something years of dealing with this, especially in family court over divorces and stuff. I've seen lawyers present a case entirely on the basis of them telling the judge, Your Honor, she's crazy.
I'm uncovering DHR and exposing DHR across the state. I mean, like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, absolutely.
Correct. And I have
Hey, guy, one of our new judges that just got appointed by Governor Ivey, guess what she came down here to do? And what she's been doing
I
for
know
the
what
last
she came
12
down here
years.
to do. I know what she came down here to do.
She's been, yeah.
I know
Anyway.
most of us know this history, but for viewers, Bob Wills here is our main witness about erratic behavior. And Bob Wills, you previously ran against for mayor of Bay Minette, and prior to that, the two of you were in a law practice together that, you know, we won't get into civil matters, but arguably that was not divided equitably in Harry's direction when Bob Wills and, you know, Mr. Simon opposed that. So Wills has a very prejudicial view of Harry based on their personal history, which makes him saying that he has erratic behavior is not a credible witness. This is like the jealous
That's
ex-wife
such an
coming
important,
back and,
yeah, that's a
saying
very
stuff about
important
your
point.
character.
Yes, and also you have to throw in the mix that Harry and myself both filed ethics complaints and bar complaints, legitimate complaints. Those complaints, a lot of them were centered around Bay Minette, Bob Wills, and some of the conduct that he was involved in.
You mean like the legislative delegation
Yeah.
renting half his office?
And it never
'Cause we
went.
don't have any office space in
Yeah.
Baldwin County?
It never went anywhere. So you're right, Brandon. Wills should be the very, very last one to say anything. But I think that it's also soaking in on him that he's been excommunicated. So
Yeah, Harry,
anyway, I personally, I told Harry, I said, I don't know what you're paying your lawyer for, but you better be talking about suing the hell out of somebody, because they libeled you like crazy through this whole thing.
You guys have to understand, my biggest problem with all this libel stuff is that I'm incarcerated against my will in solitary confinement with multiple Megs and Hannibal Lecter. I can't defend myself. I can't even, I burned my phone call calling my bail bond
I'm
lady.
talking about once this is over with, and I don't think that all.
No, but you don't understand. What I'm trying to say is someone who worked for Bob Wills signed a writ saying I was crazy. Someone who doesn't know me.
Yeah, I mean, based on what? What
based on
was
what
that?
Bob Wills told him, probably.
Oh, well, now, yeah,
Based on what factually, right?
right. You can't just say so.
Yeah.
Apparently you can in Baldwin County.
And that's it.
This is scary hearing that.
It's really scary. And again, like, the scope of information and like the other investigations that I'm working on, and it's hard to say too much without exposing some things that I am looking at right now. But that's it. Like, this is a real fear. And I hope that when people watch this back and they listen, and I'm so glad that you played the press coverage so we could see what is the narrative that the public was given. How is that, again, like I talk all the time, like these people, they think that they are so clever at persuading public opinion, you know what I mean? And trying to, it's just about the narrative. It's like, it's such old school tactics and strategies.
Right.
It's really like, please, like it's 2025, come on, do better. But I do, like, I have questions about the audio that you recorded because I want to, for anyone that watches this later, so they can understand that moment when it sounds like in the audio, you were proceeding to already leave. Like it sounded like the meeting was concluded. Is that correct?
He said, get the F out of my office. And I said, fine, thanks, Matt. And I laughed and I didn't flip him off. I got a file folder in one hand and my dog on a leash in the other, and I turned to leave. So, Paul, you read through the report. Did you read what, so I went, if you've listened to the full audio, I went there to see Mark Furnett. We had business, the owner. He wasn't there, but he was on the phone, on speakerphone with Matt Franklin. So we conducted our business over the phone. Unbeknownst to me, and in his police report, he says he called Police Chief Al Tolbert before any of this stuff kicked off. So do you think that might have emboldened Mr. Franklin?
Who called the police chief?
The man who was on the phone that I went there to see, the owner of Delta Realty.
Your client?
No, my client's realtor.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
He's the realtor for a lady who owns a big building downtown, and she wants to sell it, and he won't do it without an opinion letter from me, which is what we were granted.
The reputation doesn't, that's irrelevant. So he just preemptively thought he would call? Did you say he called the police chief?
the police chief directly. And then after I'm in handcuffs in the back of the truck, he calls my father. The police chief calls my father and says that, you know, what the Bob Will scenario, that I went in there and threw him on the sidewalk and stomped his head in the concrete, and that I needed to be looked at and incarcerated, you know, involuntarily committed. And, you know,
Well, that to me sounds more like,
I don't know what you
go
guys
with the
think about
narrative
the
that they
police
spun.
calling
That
your
sounds more
family
to
like
me like
you can't
assault.
talk
It
to
doesn't
anybody.
sound like you've lost your marbles. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even believe that happened.
Wait a minute. For folks who are not in this conversation, for our viewers, they called your father, who is dying from cancer, which everybody knew at this time, and they bothered him with all of this.
Right. Thank you.
Just for on the record.
Yes.
So, Whitney, we're on your dime. Any other poignant questions?
Yes. Who, you know, and you don't have to release names, but, you know, maybe their position in law enforcement. Who did you make contact with first right after that incident? Who is the first person you came upon?
The deputies who do security at the front door of the courthouse.
Okay.
And like I said, I walked up and my sleeve was ripped and my mouth was bleeding, and the way there's construction going on, so you have to go in the east entrance of the courthouse. You can't go in the south entrance, which is the main entrance, because it's construction. And to get around to the east entrance, you have to walk in the damn road. It's dangerous. And so everybody, you know, is, you know, real cautious. So anyway, I went walking in and he looked at me and said, "Did you get hit by a car?" And I laughed and I said, "No, a city councilman." And I said, "I need to report this to a deputy." And I called the switchboard 3 different times. And before I could get through to anybody, here comes Bay Minette Police Department 7 deep.
2 quick questions here. Matt Franklin's testimony, or with his statement to the police, is that you came up and hit him from behind and he ended up on the ground. If this was the case, how did you manage to get hit in the face and your sleeve torn by somebody who was on the ground? The only way this makes any sense to me is if Franklin made the first blow and in the scuffle ended up on the ground.
Right. Okay. Well, you got to understand, when he grabbed me screaming MF and calling me a P word and all this other stuff, I was thinking, if I hit him, I'm going to prison. And then I'm thinking my poor dog is probably going to jump up and get him by the throat and I'm going to prison. Okay. So I'm thinking, get away from him, make him stop, whatever. And when the door bangs open, who's crossing the crosswalk but a couple of attorneys I know who I call out to? He tries to throw me to the ground. Instead, down goes Franklin and he rides my sleeve to the ground. He keeps trying to pull me down with that sleeve. So I take that hand and I put him in a jujitsu wrist lock and I tell him to tap out. Now, I don't know what else I could have done, but now, when the cowardly son of a bitch grabbed my dog and you can hear the tension in my voice, I really did think about, now, Mr. Franklin and I go back many years, and he one of his shoulders, he had surgery on, and I was thinking that I had his bad arm from a football injury when we were in high school. I know because I went to see him in the hospital.
And that's an interesting point too.
Harry, I'm trying not to dislocate his shoulder because I remembered about the shoulder surgery.
And Harry and Franklin have known each other from childhood. So, you know.
Just like Paul and I were saying before we got started, you know, Matt Franklin and I have had more heated arguments about more important stuff in a duck blind with loaded shotguns. And I never thought he'd done something like this. And I certainly wouldn't have thought that he would have gone along with this campaign of slander and intimidation.
Well, now he's got to because he is possibly being thrown off the council, and they don't know what's on this tape. When they hear this tape, I can't wait to hear how this is explained. And hope to God it's not in front of Marcus McDowell.
Harry, did you told the police that you had this audio?
They said that I was under arrest and I had the right to remain silent. They were Mirandizing me. And I said, I don't want to remain silent. I want to make a statement, but I don't want to make a statement to anybody that works for Bob Wills. How hard is that to understand? I'd like to make a statement to a deputy sheriff. And I said, I'm waiving my right to remain silent. I have a recording of the whole thing. As a matter of fact, I think it's still recording in my pocket. And that's why this file is 6 hours long, because it sits there in intake with them fooling with my phone for 6 hours until it dies.
So they were not even interested in listening to anything.
No, like I said, I was in the car in handcuffs. Tolbert walked over to within earshot of the vehicle that I was, hogtied in. He said, we got 6 witnesses that saw him kick Franklin in the head, get him out of here. And so there I went. So I thought that I was going to go over there and post $1,000 bond and walk right out.
Did they really?
And read the witness statements. There are various descriptions of he stepped on his arm, he stepped on his head, he stepped on, it's all mixed matched as to what they saw, and they're all watching this in a scuffle from a distance. So I don't know what the hell they saw, but I know that if Harry stomped on your damn head, you wouldn't be getting up.
Well, and the other thing, Whitney, that I would put you on to, it's hard to live in a town and not have friends and that kind of thing. And I don't want there to be a mole hunt at North Baldwin Hospital. But there was a call that came in that Matt Franklin was coming in the ambulance with head injuries. And you could imagine the guys in the cath lab that weren't doing anything. Everybody kind of ran down to the ER. And guess what? All I'm saying is, if I stomped him in the head, where are the resulting injuries?
Mm-hmm.
And that, unfortunately, that was kind of one of the things that my father and I got to talk about the last time we spoke to one another was,
I'd be interested to get some eyewitness accounts from those who saw Matt as he was brought in.
I would assume then that they have photographs of these injuries to his head.
They're hard to see in the discovery that they gave me, but I would imagine that I can't imagine what they are. The only thing that I know that came into contact with anything was his fist with my mouth, and then his left elbow. When I had him in that wrist lock, he kept trying to get his feet under him and get his free hand under him. And I would imagine maybe he had some abrasions on his left hand or left elbow, but that had nothing to do with me.
Stuffed up.
And I just keep saying, yeah, hey man, say uncle, tap out, however y'all say it. But here's the other thing. And, I do get wound up. Okay. And I do raise my voice. But listen, man, the idea that I'm going to put my hands on somebody that I'm not a mature person who can't control himself. Mr. Franklin's the one that was acting like a child, which is why I said say uncle. Okay.
I think from what I heard, I think that he definitely instigated, what ended up escalating. Like, it was pretty clear to me. So
that's what it sounded like.
The thing that got me was when Harry's on his rant with him in the very beginning, he's going down through a litany of a list, about this and that and so on and so forth. Well, whatever it was, there was something in that list that he said that hit home
Are you
with
talking,
Franklin.
do you think it's the Stewart Lodges
I think that's
and
what it is.
Billwood?
I think it's a Stewart
And the fact
Lodge
that they're owned by North Baldwin Utilities, subsidiary Baldwin Express Pipeline Company?
because we have looked into North Baldwin Utilities before, filed ethics complaints and everything else. Nobody did a damn thing, just like they didn't about the mega site, just like they haven't about certain attorneys in different situations.
Tom Albritton, the head of the Ethics Commission. We filed ethics complaint against him, sued him.
Yeah.
Sued the sheriff over COVID.
So in some of my work, and I wasn't going to ask really too much about what occurred before we got on the audio because I know you were there on behalf of a client is how I understood it. But for my viewers, when I put this out, I expose a lot of land deals and who's involved and the developers and the shady land deals. I'll just call it like it is. Are you willing? I just want to make sure that viewers can understand the conversation that you had and what do you think pissed off Matt Franklin? Just be clear.
I think it was the Baldwin Express Pipeline Company because it's funny. So I'd been to court that morning and then I went over to to probate, and guess who's working in probate, Bo? My old paralegal Dixie is working at the window, and I go over and I'm like, "Well, one more investigation, Dixie," and she's like, "Really? What?" And I was like, let's not fire Dixie, Judge Dudley, she's a good girl. And she was just doing her job. But anyway, she helped me pull up all that Baldwin Express pipeline stuff. I had it in a folder in my hand. I went and got my dog and I was going around to whatever the name of that Saving Grace kitchen that used to be Cabinet Auto Parts across from Red Wilkins office. And on my way, I thought, I need to talk to Fernette about this building over here on Hand Avenue. And so I just popped in. It was, I wasn't looking for Matt Franklin. I was looking for his ball.
That's context that the public would have never known. You know what I mean? Like that's important information.
That's a pretty important point, especially in light of these. I'm not sure what those news reports were at this point because this just keeps diverging further and further.
Well, and I will say, and I'm, sorry, it's just like I'm working on so many different things, but this is important too. So HB 51, that I know that this bill came up, and again, Harry, you and I are the exact sort of people that they want to quiet, by this bill. So what's interesting is Haas-Mack actually interjected himself in a conversation recently about HB 51. And it goes back to, what if, an elected official or someone puts up a piece of legislation that you don't like and you go and punch them in the face over it. And I say that because the context matters, because municipal elections, you know what I mean? It was all around this time. And so when I first read the story, and I didn't know you at all, I had no idea who you were, how the public perceived that very first news article about what had happened. It was election related, right? It was like you had an issue with Matt Franklin and you went down there to go handle, your grievances with him. That's exactly how it was painted.
Yeah, well, Debbie reported that way.
Exactly.
That's how I heard the report.
Yeah. And again, you have, former Baldwin County Sheriff Haas-Mack interjecting himself in a bill that was designed to shut someone up, like Harry, interjecting, if there's a politician that you don't like, going down and punching him in the face. That's what this is for. That's what this is intended for. So just wanted for viewers to understand that.
Okay. So somehow we went from, Steve McMillan, who passed 2 years ago, Steve McMillan could get me a meeting with the governor. He was my political rabbi, so to speak, right? So we go from that to I'm the subject of a bill because people need protection from me.
Legislation. to protect.
And for me, I'm nonviolent, Harry. I don't piss anybody off except for with the things I say. And I've been roped into those private conversations that I have audio recordings of where I wasn't there. But that's exactly it. It's we are challenging the machine is really, like, I feel comfortable saying that. And they don't want that. They don't like that.
Okay, well, maybe this will help, and you can put this can be your headline, so you'll get a bunch of clicks, okay?
Okay.
And Brandon can tell you this. He's been to a couple of banquets and covered it with me or whatever. And I spoke last year at the summer conference. How long do you think it's going to take Bama Carey's board to get together and terminate my representation? Because the last thing a Second Amendment gun rights group wants is some guy with a lunatic reputation in their midst.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And by the way, Whitney, Brandon can tell you, Brandon, off the top of your head, the constitutional carry legislation that was passed by Bama Carey, how many millions of dollars did that cost all of the sheriffs in Alabama collectively, roughly?
I don't want to throw a number out there, but they were saying it was a rather high number because a lot of people that, like me, that get pistol permits didn't, or those like me who did renew our license, to be more competitive with zero, they lowered the fee. So they're counting all that as lost revenue.
The other main thing that particularly Lowry and Mack and Wilters do not want to have come up is this wrongful conviction with
There's
Murray
a lot
Lawrence.
of things that they don't want to come up. Unfortunately, they probably
Absolutely.
are.
And they know that we've been working on it for years. They know that we're talking to people about a documentary, Netflix or Showtime. They know that we are just about to go public with a lot of information. And Harry has covered this extensively. Not only that, Harry is the only attorney that has worked on the case with Murray Lawrence Jr. pro bono and took me up to the prison for visitation and legal document signing like eight times.
Yeah.
Like 8 times. Wasn't paid a dime. There wasn't another damn lawyer in Baldwin County yet that has stood up on the Murray Lawrence case, which is the most atrocious thing anybody's going to read when they hear that case. That is another reason they want Harry. See, Harry poses a lot different threat than you and I do because we're, so to speak, civilians, maybe public figures, but he's an attorney. He's in their face and he's not backing down. And that is why they're putting the focus on, hey, we got to shut him up one way or another. If they shut Harry up, they're hoping that's going to scare the rest of us to shut up ourselves, which ain't going to work.
That and Otis
Harry's
Jr.
a threat.
Because Otis French Sr., I guess looking back on it, made the mistake of criticizing Bob Wills and Al Tolbert for the police, allegedly harassing black citizens in Bay Minette. They responded by harassing Otis French's son, Otis French Jr., and unfortunately, in that incident, poor Otis French Jr. was gunned down by a member of the Bay Minette police.
And then it went to the Baldwin County Major Crimes Division to investigate the incident and the officer that was under Al Tolbert, and Al Tolbert just happened to be sitting on the Major Crimes Investigative part. He was the
still litigation that the French family are bringing against the city of Bay Minette and Al Tolbert Police Department.
Right.
Backtracking just a little bit, social media, I had teased the public yesterday that this podcast was coming, and just again to drive the point home further about the narrative that was spun on this, just a random person commenting, so he didn't stop him repeatedly. But did he throw him to the ground and kick him? I'm guessing over policy changes. Like, you know what I mean? Like the truth is so distorted in this and what the media put out. It's crazy.
Yeah. So the only other thing I would say is you'll see that Mr. Riff and I have been on Senator Chris Elliott since we were duped into helping him get elected to the county commission years ago. And every time I see somebody in Montgomery, I apologize for my role in legging him up. Do you remember that? The Tarred and Feathered Award of 2001.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, you know, we're pointing out things that other people have pointed out. And I can tell you,
It's just hitting home, and we're having a sheriff's race, and they see for the first time that they're in bad shape going into this race because the culture that the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office is sponsored by Horace Mack and inherited by Lowry, that culture is not safe for the citizens of Baldwin County.
well, so guys, we got to talk about one more thing. When I was deposing the chief of police down in Orange Beach recently, I think that was one of the incidents. The chief of police got up and left a deposition. I didn't know, you know, Bill Clinton would have jumped up and run through the damn wall like the Kool-Aid man if he could have got his ass out of that Monica Lewinsky deposition. You can't leave a deposition, but he leaves the deposition and then he sends two black and whites to follow me to the city limit like it's, you know, Phoenix City, 1950.
It is Phoenix City, night.
Okay, so in that deposition, I said, do y'all have flock cameras? He said, yes. Do you have Clearview AI facial recognition technology? He said, yes. I said, do you have the ability to geofence this area to see who all was there when Danny Williams died? He said, yes. I said, well, did you deploy any of that? He said, no, because it was an accidental drowning.
Wow. Wow.
So, yeah, there's lots of people in law enforcement who would love to have me discredited. And let me say this, Whitney, and it won't mean jack shit to anybody in the world except all the other Eagle Scouts out there. It doesn't mean anything to anybody else, but it means, you know, everything to me. And anyway, it's just, it's kind of unbelievable that this could be the scenario. And, you know, Google me prior to the podcast that, you know, I was on the United Way board, the chamber board, this, that, and I distanced myself from them because I knew this was going to bring political retribution.
Mm-hmm.
And it has. Man,
They don't want these cases or these incidents brought up during this election year. They know what a threat it is. Mack has left the area. However, he's trying to keep a stranglehold on his power here, and it's eroding. And then you have a lot of Baldwin County sheriff's deputies that are damn good guys, and they want to change as well. They're fed up too with this culture.
Yeah, and I have a lot of, you know, internal sources from Baldwin County Sheriff's Office, and, you know, I'm just working through a lot of different investigations right now, but those will come because those men and women in there, they want the truth out because they are highly concerned about what a continued reign of Hoss Mack and the culture he's created that Lowry, you know, stands on 10 toes with his chest out saying that he will ensure continues on. So they're coming out of the woodwork. So.
all right. Well, I certainly appreciate you using your platform to get this out. You know, Brandon, I guess he and I will talk about publishing this on YouTube for a part of Dixie podcast. And I guess Mr. Rip can publish it on Backstory and the Rip Report.
We'll be sharing it throughout.
But as far as I know, the entirety of the audio is in the hands of the Lanyap. So, you know.
And I have it now. Is it mine to do with whatever I want? You emailed it.
That part of it, but I'm telling you,
Okay,
it's 6 hours and 35 minutes long or something crazy like that.
I don't need that.
I was going to say, Harry, just based on what I heard, this audio, you really need to make that available for people to hear, because there's something very, 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 very wrong here. The narrative and the audio, that they don't go together at all.
No.
Hey, Bo, would you do me a favor, and I don't want to break attorney-client privilege here or anything, but I've been involved in your father's estate, which would you say that's a complicated civil action if there ever was one?
Oh, yeah, it's over 16 years old. Yeah.
Right. So the idea that I'm some incompetent, don't know what I'm doing, all these things that Mr. Will said about me, slandering people in print and media and all this. I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's the reason I appreciate you being here.
I've personally, Harry represents me in my father's estate. After I'd been through several lawyers, I had to let them go because it got really expensive. Then I represented myself, which I don't recommend because it's hard to separate your personal emotional self from, you got to take that out and be able to be a lawyer. Very hard to do. I asked Harry to help and to get on board. He came in this estate case in, I think, 2019, 2019, and it was the best thing I ever did. And I tried the case with him together, and he doesn't have a bad temperament. Now, he's got a loud voice, but he's not the only one in this world with a loud voice, and he's not the loudest lawyer I've ever heard. But my experience with Harry as a lawyer has been nothing but superlative. I mean, I like I said, he still represents me. So it's there's clearly something to this down there. And I'm the outsider. I'm the one up here in Birmingham. I don't know any of these people. I don't know any of these cases that y'all are discussed here today. But I do know some BS when I hear it. That's not a legal term. That's a keeping it real term. And so something obviously is at work here as part of an agenda, it seems, against Harry. And it's a disservice on so many levels. I don't even know where to start, but why don't we just leave it at this? If anyone cares about having a fraction of the rights we're supposed to have in this country, this stuff cannot happen, and it cannot go on. And when it gets to this extent, it's got to be called out. So,
Okay.
God bless people like you, Harry.
So what I was going to say about the slot camera system, if they're observing me in the courthouse and there's a master name index, now this is no joke. So Whitney, the courthouse was stolen in 1901 or 1899. The records were stolen by my grandfather, Charles Hall, who was the probate judge. And they built the damn courthouse in Bay Minette with private money. And the more involved you were in the scam, the closer your family name is to the courthouse, the Hall, the Burns, all my ancestors, right? So I'm in the courthouse. I'm a lawyer. I can have a phone. I'm taking pictures of my grandfather, who was also another one who was a sheriff, right? And that's what is a master name index, that I'm skulking around inside the courthouse, taking pictures of load-bearing walls. This is just insane. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, Whitney, you gotta, anyway, I feel like the more I try to defend myself, the more word salad comes out of me, because I really don't know where to start or where to stop. But the idea that I'm going to harm somebody, if I wanted to do that, Bo, is there anybody worse to go Hannibal Lecter in your mind that you could possibly think of? They just all be in an oil drum offshore, right? This is the opposite of violence, doing a podcast with a Vietnam veteran who has a blog.
Yeah, and don't forget, Harry and I sued a blog site for them saying that I had a head injury. And that's the reason that I acted the way that I did.
Oh,
And that
God.
was funny because
And we won that too.
no, but it was funny because Big Tompkins was also the judge. And so we're in his courtroom, and he said something about, you represented Mr. Rip before? And I said, you were the judge. Remember that? And he goes, what? Like, yeah. So anyway, it's not all terrible, but knowing that they have me in the flock camera system, and probably my girlfriend's car too, and they're tracking my comings and goings, that what I'm trying to say is a judge in Connecticut just ruled these flock camera data stuff a public record. And if they're using that shit to surveil me for no reason, because I pissed off Sheriff Mack and Lowry and DA Wilters or whomever else feels slighted, but they're the public officials.
Well, they're certainly surveilling you because Whitney just told you about what the email said. I mean, they put out a warning about you.
Well, that's just ridiculous.
And let me say this too. I was at that meeting. Harry
I was
not.
too.
Yeah, and if you remember, Whitney, those two cops were sitting at the back table, and then all of a sudden the female cop got outside. Well, I left after I talked to Wes Allen. I left, and man, she's out there in a fit trying to get pictures up and all this. And I said, I was thinking to myself, what the hell is going on? Something is going on.
Well,
She
I
was
had never
called out
seen, I've been to Mama Lou's countless times. I go to
Right.
these events. The police presence, I don't know. I know what building the narrative looks like. And it even starts like at that level. Let's have heavy police presence, I get what you're saying.
That's intimidation.
Yeah.
Well, and what I keep trying to tell Paul, I've been filing ethics complaints since 1997. And I kept thinking, my God, one day I'll get to a point where I can go sit down and talk to somebody who's going to do something about this, right? No, there's no one. That's why I ran for Attorney General in 2022.
Oh yeah, the attorney general won't touch any of this. I've spoken with the chief of special prosecution. I mean, they do more surveillance of their contact with me than doing anything about what I bring them. So.
Oh yeah, well, Paul can tell you. We met with them several times.
Yeah.
They don't care. Well, anyway, I certainly appreciate the opportunity to, talk it out with you. And, like I said, Bo and Brandon, thanks for being here, and Paul. And, do with it what you will.
When can we expect this to be available for the public? I'm dying to get it out.
As soon as I can do the post, and we got to cut all that other stuff out, but yeah. But thank you very much, Whitney. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, who you want running? Who you want to be sitting there?
I don't know, but it's not going to be a bunch of the lollipop guild dick suckers.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Out of this office, man.
Okay.
Get out of this office.
I'll be glad to. Thanks, Matt.
Hey, let me see something. You big fat fucking pussy. Get the fuck out of my office. Out, hey, right now.
Come on.
Get the fuck out of here. And don't you ever
Hey,
come
watch
back here.
this.
Get the fuck up. What you say? God, what? Motherfucker.
Are you done?
Motherfucker.
Are you done?
Motherfucker.
Are you done?
Get the fuck off.
I don't know why you touched me.
I didn't touch you,
shouldn't have.
motherfucker.
You shouldn't
You
have.
lying bastard.
Are you done?
Harry.
Are you done?
Harry.
Are you done? Say
No.
uncle.
Get the
Say
fuck
uncle,
off me.
Matt. You better let go of my.
I'll fucking kill this motherfucker.
Matt! Get off my dog!
Get the fuck off me. Get the
Hey,
fuck
that's fucking enough. That's enough.
I'm gonna kill that fucking dog, Harry. And I'm gonna kill you.